Welcome to Juliet Stories. If this is your first time here, get ready for a story that will move your heart and soul. And if you are returning, thank you for always being part of our growing family. Here we tell stories filled with love, compassion, heartbreak, and hope. Today's story will take you on an unforgettable journey. A poor orphan girl, a dying billionaire, and a single song that changed everything. This is not just a story. It is a reminder that even in the darkest moments, a small act of kindness can bring light. So get comfortable, because what you are about to hear will leave you speechless. Now let us begin. The city of Denver had already tucked itself into silence. Snowflakes fell slowly onto the cold pavement. The streetlights flickered dimly as though they too were tired. And in a small corner of the city where broken dreams piled like old trash, lived a girl named Lily. She was only 14, thin as a pencil, with big brown eyes that held more stories than any book could carry. She lived in an abandoned trailer park, with no family, no one to call her own, just her voice, her soft voice, and a little wooden guitar she found near a dumpster last Christmas. Lily had lost her parents in a car crash 3 years ago. She remembered the sirens, the smell of fire, the silence after the screaming stopped. Since then she had bounced from one shelter to another, some good, some bad. But in the end she always found herself alone again. Her only friend was her music. Every night she would sit under the broken street lamp beside the frozen bench near Parker Street and sing, not for money, not for fame, but because when she sang, she felt close to her mom. She felt her dad smiling in the wind. One night, as the wind bit her cheeks and her fingers turned red from cold, she noticed a black car parked across the street. A man sat inside, watching her, not moving, not blinking, just watching. Lily's voice shook with fear, but she kept singing. Her mother always said music could chase away darkness, so she let her song float into the cold night air. The next night, the same car returned. This time the window rolled down slightly, and she saw an old man with silver hair and pale skin. His eyes looked tired, like he had seen too much life, and was ready to forget it. He did not say anything. He only listened, and when she stopped, the car drove away. It went on like this for a week. Every night Lily would sing. Every night the car would appear, and every night the man would listen silently, until one night, he stepped out. He was weak. He leaned on a cane, and his breath came out in short clouds. He walked slowly towards her and sat on the bench. "You have a gift," he said softly. His voice was raspy like it was fighting through pain. Lily nodded. "Thank you," she whispered. "What is your name?" he asked. "Lily." He looked up at the stars, like he was searching for someone long gone. "My name is Thomas Wainwright," he said. The name did not ring any bells for Lily, but if she had a phone and internet, she would have known. Thomas Wainwright was one of the richest men in Colorado, a tech billionaire. But he did not look like a billionaire. He looked like a man waiting to disappear. They sat there quietly for a while. Lily sang again, a soft song about finding peace. And for the first time in years, Thomas closed his eyes and smiled. He came back the next night, and the night after that, and soon it became a routine. An old dying billionaire and a poor orphan meeting under a broken street lamp to chase away the cold. Thomas told her about his late wife Margaret, about the son he lost cancer, and the fortune he built from a tiny garage. He said he had all the money in the world, but no one to sing to him when the nights got cold. Lily told him about her dreams, to sing on a real stage, to wear clean clothes, to eat food that was not from a dumpster, and maybe one day to find a family. One night Thomas asked her, "Why do you sing?" Lily smiled. "Because my voice is the only thing I have that no one could take from me." Thomas looked at her like she had just opened a door in his chest and let the wind in. That night, he did not say goodbye. He just pressed something into her hand and left. It was a handkerchief with his initials and a tear stain. The next night, he did not come, nor the next. Lily waited every evening, Still singing, still hoping, still watching that street. But Thomas never returned. Until a black car pulled up one afternoon with a driver wearing black gloves. "Are you Lily?" the girl was asked. She nodded nervously. The driver gave her a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter written in shaking hands. "Dear Lily, if you are reading this, then I am gone. But I need you to know that your voice gave me peace. You gave me something no money could buy. You gave me a reason to hold on. Thank you. I have left something for you. Come to 221 Aspen Hill Road, room 503. Bring your guitar. Come alone. No questions. Just music." Signed, Thomas Wainwright. Lily's hand shook. She looked around. The city kept moving, unaware that her life had just changed. And without knowing what waited for her, she picked up her guitar and began to walk. Lily had never been to the rich part of the city. She had seen it only from a distance, where glass buildings touched the clouds, where cars moved without noise, and every window glowed like stars trapped in boxes. But now she was walking there, alone, holding her guitar like a shield, wearing the same oversized sweater she had slept in last night. She felt out of place. Every person she passed looked clean, polished, powerful. She walked past shops with clothes that cost more than she had seen in a year, and restaurants where people laughed while eating food she had only smelled in the wind. Still, she walked, because the man who had listened to her songs when no one else would had called her, and something in her heart told her to go. She reached Aspen Hill Road. It looked like a postcard. The trees were trimmed like they had been touched by angels. The pavement shone like it had never known dust. She found the building, tall, silver, silent, and stood in front of the glass door, not knowing if she should knock or run. The security guard at the front looked confused. "Can I help you?" he asked. His voice was firm, but not rude. She held out the letter. The moment he read the name, his expression changed. He pressed a button, and the door slid open like magic. "Room 503, he said softly. "Take the elevator to the top floor." She stepped in. Her shoes squeaked against the clean marble. She felt small, like a dot in a world too big. The elevator was silver inside with no buttons. Just a touch screen that glowed when she raised her hand. She tapped floor 5, and the doors closed with a soft whisper. As she rose higher, she could feel her heart beating louder. She remembered every cold night, every tear, every song. She thought of her parents, and whispered, "If this is something good, please let it be real." The elevator stopped. The doors opened, and before her was a wide hallway with soft lights and a velvet carpet. At the end, a large door with a number 503. She walked slowly. Each step felt like a prayer. She reached the door, raised her hand, and knocked. No answer. She knocked again. Still silence. Then, the door opened by itself. Inside was a room unlike anything she had ever seen. Tall windows from floor to ceiling. Golden drapes swaying gently in the breeze. A fireplace glowing softly. And walls filled with paintings of people she did not know. There was a large bed in the center, and on it lay Thomas Wainwright. His body looked thinner, his skin paler, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw her. "You came," he whispered, and for the first time in days, Lily smiled. She stepped in quietly. The door closed behind her. She stood near the edge of the room, unsure of what to say. "I am glad you came," Thomas said again. "I was not sure you would." Lily nodded. "I was scared. I thought maybe it was a trick." He laughed softly. "A trick from a dying man. No, my dear, this is real." He motioned to a chair beside the bed. She walked over and sat. "I have little time left," he said, "but there is something I need to do before I go. And you, Lily, are part of that." Me, she asked. "Yes, you. Your voice is the last thing I want to hear before I close my eye forever." She felt tears rising. She had never been anyone's last wish. She had never been anyone's anything. He reached under his pillow and pulled out a small remote, pressed a button, and the window shades closed. The lights dimmed. and the room became quiet. "Sing for me, Lily," he said. "Please." She lifted her guitar, hands shaking, heart pounding. She strummed the first chord and sang. She sang a lullaby her mother used to hum while folding laundry, a song about angels watching children sleep, about pain turning into peace, and sorrow into light. Thomas closed his eyes. His breathing slowed, but a tear rolled down his cheek. Lily kept singing. She did not know what would happen next, but in that moment, nothing else mattered. She sang like the world was listening, like the stars were listening, like her parents were listening. When she finished, there was silence, and then Thomas opened his eyes and said, "Thank you." He reached out and held her hand, and for the first time in years, Lily felt safe. In the home of a dying billionaire, she felt seen. He whispered again, "There is something I must give you before it is too late." He pointed to a drawer near the bed. "Open it." Inside was a box, old and carved with roses. She lifted it gently and placed it on the bed. "Open it," he said. Inside was a key, a legal document, and a necklace. "This," he said with a weak smile, "is yours now. The key to a small house I bought just for you. The papers that make you the owner of it. And the necklace belonged to my wife. She always said it would go to someone kind, someone who sang from the heart." Lily could not speak. She was crying. "I may not have time left," Thomas said, "but I want you to have a new beginning. You gave me peace. Now I give you a home and a future." She leaned closer and whispered, "Thank you." He smiled, then closed his eyes and whispered one last word, "Sing." Lily sat there, holding his hand, and sang again, not for herself, not for the world, but for a man who found light in her voice and gave her everything when she had nothing. The next morning the city woke up with its usual rush. Cars honked in the distance. People walked past each other without a glance. But inside room 503, everything was still. Lily sat beside the bed, her guitar leaning against a chair. Thomas Wainwright was gone. His body lay quiet like he had just fallen asleep in peace. Tears streamed down Lily's cheeks, not just for him, but for herself. She had lost many people before, but this one was different. He had seen her. He had chosen her, not out of pity, but because of something deeper. The door creaked open and a man in a gray suit stepped in. He had silver glasses and carried a leather briefcase. "You must be Lily," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "I am Mr. Caldwell, Mr. Wainwright's personal lawyer." He looked at the bed, then lowered his head respectfully. Then he turned to Lily and said, he left instructions, very detailed ones. "We need to leave now. The authorities will handle this room." Lily followed him out silently, still holding the necklace and the legal papers. The ride to the law office was quiet. Mr. Caldwell did not speak much, and Lily was too lost in thought to ask questions. They reached a tall building made of glass, with a sign that read Caldwell and Franklin Attorneys. Inside, everything smelled like new books and expensive carpet. The receptionist gave Lily a quick glance, then looked away. "They do not see people like me here," Lily thought. She followed Mr. Caldwell into a large office filled with shelves and one long polished table. "Please sit," he said. Lily sat, hands in her lap. Her sweater looked even older under the bright lights. Mr. Caldwell opened his briefcase and pulled out more papers. "Mr. Wainwright left very specific wishes," he said, "including a video." He tapped his laptop, and the screen in front of them lit up. There he was, Thomas Wainwright, alive and speaking. "Hello, Lily," he said. "If you are watching this, then I am gone. But I needed to speak to you one last time. The day I first heard your voice, something in me woke up. I had been surrounded by silence for so long. Fake laughter, fake people, fake comfort. But your song was real. You reminded me what love sounds like, what kindness looks like. I had planned to give away everything to hospitals and foundations. But then I realized, what good is wealth if it does not touch the heart? You, Lily, touch my heart. And I want you to have more than just words. I want you to have safety, joy, a future. You now own the house on Maple Crescent, fully paid for, furnished, and ready for you. A monthly allowance will be sent to your account until you are old enough to access the full estate. Mr. Caldwell will help with everything. Trust him. He is a good man. Use the money to learn, to grow, to help others if you can. But most of all, keep singing. Never stop. Goodbye, Lily. And thank you. The screen faded to black. Mr. Caldwell cleared his throat. His eyes looked a bit red. We will start with identification documents, he said. You will need a guardian until your next birthday. Do you have anyone? Lily shook her head. No family. No one. Very well. We will assign someone from the estate trustees. Until then, I will be your contact for all matters. He handed her a set of new clothes, a simple dress, new shoes, and a small wallet. There's a car waiting downstairs to take you to your new home. Do you want me to go with you? Lily looked at him, then nodded. Please. The drive to Maple Crescent felt like a dream. She pressed her face against the window, watching the buildings change. The streets widen, and the world shift from cold to warm. They pulled up to a white two-story house with blue shutters and a garden that looked like something out of a movie. The front door opened with a soft creak, and the warmth inside wrapped around Lily like a hug. Photos on the wall, clean sheets on the bed, a kitchen filled with food. It felt like a place where stories began. She walked into the living room and found a piano, old but polished. A small note was placed on top. For your music. Love, always. T. She touched the keys, closed her eyes, and played the same lullaby. And the room filled with the sound of healing. But not everyone was happy about the change. That evening, while Lily unpacked her few belongings, a news alert flashed on the television. Billionaire Thomas Wainwright passes away. Estate left an unknown orphan girl. Lily's face was shown on screen, and somewhere in a different part of the city, a woman watched with fury in her eyes. She was dressed in all black, with red lips and a stare sharp enough to cut through glass. She turned off the television and whispered, "She will not get away with this. Not when it should have been mine. Not when I waited this long." The camera zoomed in on her face. Her name was Vanessa, Thomas Wainwright's ex-business partner, and his former lover. She picked up her phone and dialed. "Get me everything on that girl," she said. "I want to know where she came from, who she is, and what she is hiding." The voice on the other end replied, "Yes, ma'am." The game had begun. Lily had no idea that the peace she had just found was already shaking under the weight of secrets. And soon, she would have to fight for the life she never asked for, but now called her own. The sun rose gently over Maple Crescent, bathing the White House in soft gold light. Birds chirped outside Lily's window as she slowly opened her eyes, still unsure if all of this was real. She was lying in a bed softer than anything she had ever touched before, wrapped in a clean, warm blanket that smelled like lavender and dreams. She blinked and looked around. Everything was still there. The bookshelf, the piano, the picture frame with a note from Thomas. It was not a dream. This was her home now. She stepped out of bed and walked barefoot to the kitchen. There was food in the fridge, juice in the glass, and for the first time in years, she ate without hiding her plate. She sat at the table with a notebook and wrote down the lyrics to a new song. A song about hope, about change, about finding light in places where darkness used to live. Later that morning, Mr. Caldwell arrived. He brought with him more documents and a kind older woman named Mrs. Elkins who would act as Lily's temporary guardian. She had soft eyes and gray hair tied in a bun. She wore a blue cardigan and smelled like cinnamon cookies. "Hello, sweet girl," she said, hugging Lily gently. "We are going to be good friends." Lily nodded, unsure of what to say. It felt strange being hugged again, but nice. Mr. Caldwell explained a few things about school enrollment, bank accounts, and personal security. Lily listened quietly, absorbing every word. "You are safe now," he said softly. Thomas made sure of that. But not everyone was happy about Lily's new life. In a luxury high-rise downtown Vanessa sat across from a private investigator. His face was hard, his voice low. He handed her a folder thick with papers and photos. She flipped through them quickly. Photos of Lily, old adoption files, shelter addresses, and then one thin document that made her eyes stop moving. She stared at it, her lips curling into a cold smile. So she does not even know who her parents were, she said. How poetic. The investigator nodded. There is no clear record, no living relatives. Everything burned in the crash. No one claimed her. Vanessa leaned back and lit a thin cigarette. Smoke curled around her like a snake. So she is a nobody with everything, she said slowly. Let us change that. Start rumors. I want whispers spreading like fire. That girl is a fraud. That she tricked Thomas. That she manipulated a dying man. The investigator nodded again. Consider it done. And just like that, the city that had ignored Lily for years now began to talk about her. Social media flooded with comments. Some called her a miracle. Others called her a liar. The news ran stories with half-truths and wild guesses. Who was the girl with the golden voice? Did she steal the billionaire's heart or his fortune? Lily saw it all. The photos, the headlines, the faces of strangers picking apart her life. Like it was a puzzle they had the right to solve. She sat by the window, that evening guitar on her lap, tears in her eyes. Mrs. Elkins came and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. People will talk, my dear, she said softly, but only the truth will last. Do you know the truth? Lily nodded slowly. Then hold on to it. Let them talk. Just keep being you. That night Lily sang again, but this time her voice shook, not with fear, but with fire. She poured her pain into every note, her sorrow, her strength. And far away in the dark corners of the city, people listened and felt something they could not explain. Not everyone believed the lies. Some saw the girl behind the gossip and wondered what kind of world tried to tear down someone so gentle. The next day, Mr. Caldwell arrived with news. You've been invited, he said, to the Wainwright Foundation Gala. Lily looked up confused. The what? It is a formal event in honor of Thomas, his final project launch. He wanted you to be there. He wanted you to sing. Lily's heart jumped. Me? Yes. He said you would bring something that money could not. You would bring soul. The gala is in 3 days. We will get you a dress. Mrs. Elkins clapped her hands with joy. Oh, sweet girl, you're going to shine. But as the invitation reached Lily's hands, a shadow crossed the city. Vanessa stared at her phone. She smiled, then whispered, let her come. Let her sing. And when the lights are brightest, that is when I will strike. She closed her laptop and picked up a necklace from her table. It was old and broken, and behind it was a picture of her and Thomas. Years ago, before he left her, before he gave everything to a stranger, a poor girl with a guitar. This is not over, she whispered, and in the coldness of her room, the past began to wake. The air outside was crisp and cool as the night of the Wainwright Foundation Gala arrived. The city sparkled like a field of diamonds. Cars flowed through the streets like polished shadows, and the hall of the Carlton Grand Hotel glowed brighter than ever before. It was the kind of place where people wore wealth like skin, where cameras flashed like lightning, and laughter echoed through tall chandeliers. Inside a quiet room on the top floor, Lily stood in front of a full-length mirror. She barely recognized herself. Her hair had been gently curled and pinned with silver clips. She wore a soft blue gown that shimmered like water beneath moonlight. The necklace from Thomas rested gently against her collarbone. Her shoes sparkled even though they made her feet ache. Mrs. Elkins wiped a tear from her cheek and whispered, "You look like a dream." Lily turned and smiled, but her hands were shaking. "I do not belong here," she said quietly. "Yes, you do. You belong in every room that your voice can fill. Now go sing. For Thomas, and for yourself." Downstairs, the grand ballroom was already full. Men in tuxedos, women in flowing gowns. Waiters carried trays with glasses that clinked. The air smelled like perfume and polished wood. At the front of the room was a stage, a microphone, and a grand piano waiting quietly. Mr. Caldwell met Lily at the entrance. "You are ready?" he asked. "No," she replied, "but I will go anyway." He gave her a proud smile and led her to the side of the stage. A man in a white suit stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate the life and legacy of Mr. Thomas Wainwright, a man who believed in innovation, compassion, and music. He believed in voices that healed. And tonight we honor him with a voice he cherished deeply. Please welcome Miss Lily James." The spotlight turned and found her. Lily stepped forward, heart pounding, knees weak. She could feel hundreds of eyes on her, some warm, some cold, some full of questions. She reached the microphone. Her hands clutched her guitar. She closed her eyes and sang. The first note floated through the air like a whisper, soft, gentle, then stronger. Her voice rose like morning light, telling stories of sorrow and hope, of nights on broken benches, and the silence of being unseen. The room was still. No clinks, no coughs, only breath, and the sound of healing. When she finished, there was silence for a heartbeat, then thunder. Applause rose like a wave crashing against walls. Some people stood, others wiped tears. Lily smiled to blur of her own tears. But just as she stepped off the stage, she saw her, Vanessa, standing near the front row, clapping slowly, smiling, but not with joy, with something else, something darker. Later in the reception hall, while guests chatted and cameras flashed, Vanessa walked up to Lily with a glass of champagne in her hand. "What a voice," she said, truly touching. "Thank you," Lily replied softly. "I am glad you liked it." "Oh, I did. Very much. You have a way of making people forget everything else, even the truth." Lily's smile faded. "I am sorry. Do I know you?" "Not yet, but you will." Vanessa leaned in and whispered, "Thomas and I had plans. Big ones. Before you came along." She pulled something from her purse. A photo. It showed her and Thomas standing close, his arm around her shoulders. He was younger, smiling. This is who he was. "With me, not with you. You are just a phase, a story, and stories end." Before Lily could reply, Vanessa walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Lily stood frozen, her hands cold, her heart beating too fast. She walked quickly to the balcony to get air. The city stretched below her, beautiful, but distant. Mr. Caldwell joined her minutes later. "Are you all right?" "I did not know," she whispered. "I think she wants to destroy everything Thomas gave me." He sighed. Vanessa has always been that way. She believed she was owed something, but Thomas made his choice. "You need to be strong, Lily. This is just the beginning." He gave her a small envelope. It was from Thomas, one of his final letters. She opened it slowly. Inside was a message written in his shaky hand. "Lily, if you are reading this, then you have sung. I knew you would, and I am proud of you. The world is full of people who will try to steal your light. Let them try, but do not stop shining. They cannot take what they did not give. Sing on. T." She folded the letter and held it close. Inside her, the fire that had once been fear began to glow with something new, strength. She turned and walked back into the ballroom, this time not with doubt, but with quiet determination. Vanessa watched her from the shadows, her smile colder than before. "Let us see how long you shine," she whispered as the music played again, and Lily danced in a room that once would have locked her out. Days passed slowly after the gala. The applause had faded. The compliments had gone quiet, but the whispers had only grown louder. Online blogs questioned everything about Lily. Was she really just a street orphan? Or was she something else? Someone hiding something? Vanessa had done her work well. People talked. Newspapers hinted. And soon a reporter even stood outside Lily's gate with a camera and microphone. She stayed inside, watching from the window, wondering if the world had always been this cruel. Mrs. Elkins baked cookies and told her not to worry. Mr. Caldwell made calls and assured her the foundation was still in her name. But Lily could feel it. The shift, the weight, the fear that everything Thomas gave her could slip through her fingers. One afternoon, as rain tapped gently against the window, Lily sat alone in the library room of her new house. The walls were lined with books she had not yet touched. The fireplace glowed, and in her lap sat the old wooden box Thomas had given her the day before he passed. She had not opened it fully, just looked at the necklace and the key. But now something inside her whispered, "Look deeper." She opened the box again. This time she noticed a small crack along the bottom. She pressed her finger into the corner, and the false bottom lifted, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was an envelope, old, yellowed, and sealed with wax. She opened it with care. Inside was a letter. But it was not from Thomas. It was from someone named Amelia Grace. "My dearest Thomas," the letter began. "If you are reading this, then I am already gone. But there is something I need you to know. The child is alive. The girl, the one from the fire. She survived. I saw her. I held her. I gave her to the woman who worked at the shelter. You told me never to speak of it, to let the past rest. But how can I, when our daughter is still out there? Thomas, if you ever find her, give her everything. Not money, not houses. Give her your heart. Tell her she was loved, even if it was from a distance. Forgive me for the silence. Love, always. Amelia." Lily stared at the letter, her hands trembling, her breath caught in her throat. Daughter, fire, shelter. She stood up, her mind spinning. Could it be? Was she the girl in the letter? Was Thomas not just a man who listened, but something more? Her heart raced. She ran to the piano bench and opened the hidden drawer underneath. Inside was another envelope, this time with her name on it. Lily. She opened it slowly. Inside was a DNA report. She could not understand all the big words, but the last line stood out. Probability of paternity. 99.9%. Thomas Wainwright. Father. She dropped to her knees. The room spun. Her mind shouted and whispered all at once. He knew, and never told me. Why? Why keep it secret? Why love me in silence? Tears flowed freely, not from pain, but from the shock of truth. The man who changed her life was her father, and he died without ever saying it out loud. She pressed the report against her chest and sobbed. Mrs. Elkins found her minutes later. She knelt beside her and wrapped her arms around Lily. "What is it, child? What happened?" Lily handed her the letter and the report. The old woman read them slowly, then gasped softly. "Oh, my darling," she whispered. "You were his heart, his hidden heart. He loved you so deeply. He just did not know how to say it. Not after so many years of pain." Lily looked up through her tears. Why did no one tell me? Why did he wait until the end? Some people love in silence, my dear. Some carry wounds that never close. He gave you everything he could. And now you know. You were never just a singer to him. You were his daughter, his child. Lily sat by the fire the rest of the evening, reading the letter again and again. Every line felt like a hand reaching across time, touching her gently, telling her she was never alone. But outside, another hand held a phone. Vanessa stood across the street, watching through binoculars. She zoomed in on Lily, holding the letter. She saw the tears, the papers, and the truth. She zoomed in closer and captured a photo, a report, a signature, and her smile grew colder. "So that is the game," she whispered. "Then it is time to change the rules." She turned and walked away, her heels clicking like gunshots on the wet pavement. Lily did not know yet, but the war had just begun. Not for the house, not for the money, but for the truth. And only one heart would survive it. Lily barely slept that night. Her mind kept circling the same thought. He was my father. The man who gave me a home, a future name, was not just a kind stranger. He was my blood, my family, And now he was gone. She sat on her bed, clutching the letter from Amelia and the DNA report. Her eyes burned from crying, but her heart felt strangely full, like pieces of a broken puzzle had finally begun to fit. Morning came quietly. The sky outside was pale, and the trees swayed gently as if whispering to each other. Mrs. Elkins made her a cup of hot tea and wrapped her in a blanket. Mr. Caldwell arrived shortly after. Lily showed him everything. The secret compartment, the letter, the report. He read them slowly, his face calm, but his eyes filled with something close to sorrow. I had no idea, he whispered. He never told me, but this explained so much. Lily looked at him with wide eyes. Do you believe me? Of course. He loved you, Lily. It was always clear, even when the world doubted you. He never did. He sat down beside her and said, "This changes everything. Not legally. You still have full rights to the estate. But emotionally, this gives you something no court could ever grant. The truth." Lily nodded. "I do not want to hide anymore. I want the world to know. Then we will tell them. We will hold a press conference. You will speak, but only if you are ready." Lily took a deep breath. "I am ready." But before she could stand, Mrs. Elkins entered with worry on her face. "There's someone outside." Lily rushed to the window. A crowd had gathered at her gate. Not reporters this time. Strangers. People holding signs. Some supportive. Some cruel. Some called her a hero. Others called her a fraud. She stepped back trembling. "Why are they here?" "Because Vanessa has started spreading lies." Mr. Caldwell said quietly, "She has made claims that you manipulated Thomas, that you faked the documents, that you forged everything. But how? Where did she get the report? She must have taken pictures from a distance. She has influence and money. She has hired lawyers to contest the will. On what grounds? That you are not who you say you are. That you are pretending to be someone you are not." Lily sat down again, her hands cold. "So what do I do now?" "You fight. You tell the truth. And you let the world decide. We will not hide. Not now." Later that day, a security team arrived and escorted Lily to the foundation's legal office. Inside the press room, reporters sat with cameras and microphones. Flashes lit up the space, and the hum of whispers filled the air. Mr. Caldwell stepped up first and spoke firmly. "Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Lily James has a statement to make. Please give her your attention and your respect." Lily stepped up to the podium. Her heart raced. Her knees shook, but her voice remained steady. "My name is Lily James. You have seen my face on the news. You have read stories about me. Some true, some not. But today I want to tell you who I really am. I was born in a small town I cannot remember. I lost my parents in a fire. I grew up alone. I slept in shelters, sang on street corners, and dreamed of a place to belong. Then I met Thomas Wainwright. He listened to me. He saw me. He gave me more than money. He gave me peace and love. And the truth is, he was my father." Gasps echoed across the room. Lily continued, "I found letters. I found proof. He knew. He did not say it out loud. But he gave me everything with the heart of a father. I did not steal anything. I was never after his money. I only sang because it made me feel alive, because it reminded me that my voice mattered. I know some of you may never believe me, but I am not here to win approval. I am here because the truth deserves light. Thank you." She stepped back, her chest rising and falling quickly. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they did not fall. Reporters shouted questions, but Mr. Caldwell raised his hand and ended the session. That evening her speech was everywhere. Clips spread online. Some praised her, others mocked her, but the truth had been spoken, and that truth had power. Meanwhile, Vanessa watched the press conference on her flat-screen television. She threw her wine glass across the room. It shattered against the wall. "She thinks she has won," she hissed. "Not yet." She pulled out her phone and called someone. "We go to court. I want her destroyed. Make up documents if you must. Find a way. She paused and added, and if she really is his daughter, then we bury the truth. Forever. She ended the call and looked at the broken glass. Her reflection stared back, twisted, hollow, jealous. Lily had a voice, a heart, a truth, and now she also had enemies, powerful ones, and in the coming days, she would need to choose. Hide in the safety Thomas left her, or rise in the storm he never warned her about. The courtroom was cold, not because of the temperature, but because of the silence. A silence thick with judgment, expectation, and doubt. Lily sat at the long wooden bench beside Mr. Caldwell. She wore a plain navy dress, and her hair was tied back simply. Her eyes were calm, but inside her chest, the storm had begun. Across the room, Vanessa sat with her team of lawyers, each of them dressed sharply, their faces emotionless, as if they were there to crush numbers, not people. The judge entered, and everyone stood. He was a tall, gray-haired man with a deep voice and tired eyes. This case will determine the validity of Mr. Thomas Wainwright's final will. The voice echoed through the chamber like thunder, and so the hearing began. Vanessa's lawyer stood first. He walked slowly across the room, holding a stack of papers. Your Honor, we question the legitimacy of the so-called daughter. We believe Miss Lily James manipulated a dying man, took advantage of his weakness, and planted false documents to claim an inheritance that was never meant for her. Lily's hands clenched in her lap. She kept her eyes forward. She would not let them break her. The lawyer continued. We have witnesses who claim she was seen discussing Thomas Wainwright's health before his death, that she asked about his money, that she may have accessed his private drawers. We also have doubts about the origin of the DNA report. It was discovered in a drawer in the girl's possession. Convenient, is it not? The judge nodded slowly, then turned to Mr. Caldwell. Your response. Mr. Caldwell rose with grace. Your Honor, my client Lily James was not just named in the will. She was deeply loved by Mr. Wainwright. She did not seek him out. He found her. He followed her voice before he ever knew her name. What they call manipulation was simply kindness. What they call strategy was simply music. He paused, then walked to the table and lifted the sealed envelope. We have here a letter written in Mr. Wainwright's handwriting, signed and dated, confirming that he had discovered Lily was his daughter through a private investigator years ago. He chose not to tell her, but he knew, and this was his choice, to give everything to her. He handed the letter to the judge. The courtroom murmured softly. The judge raised a hand. Silence, please. He read the letter slowly, then looked back at Lily. Miss James, do you have anything to say? Lily stood. She walked to the center of the room. Her voice was quiet but steady. I did not ask for this. I did not beg for money or a name. I sang because I had nothing, and someone listened. That someone was my father. I know now, because of a letter he hid, because of reports he filed, because of the way he held my hand when he was too weak to speak. If you take everything from me today, the house, the money, the foundation, I will still be rich, because I got to know my father before he left. I got to sing him to sleep, and no paper can erase that. She stepped back, her eyes wet but clear. Vanessa stood suddenly. She slammed her hands on the table. This is madness. She is lying. She was nothing. A street singer. A stray. I was the one who stood by him when no one did. I was the one who helped build his empire. I deserved to be in that will. I deserved to be chosen. The judge looked at her quietly. And did he choose you? Her mouth opened, then closed. He did not. The courtroom remained silent for a long moment. Then the judge spoke. I have heard enough. This court recognizes the validity of the documents. The will shall stand. Miss Lily James is hereby confirmed as the sole legal heir to Mr. Thomas Wainwright's estate. This case is dismissed. Lily closed her eyes. Her knees almost gave out. Mr. Caldwell caught her gently. You did it. You spoke your truth. And the world listened. Outside the courtroom, reporters flooded the steps, but Lily walked through them without a word. She did not need headlines. She had peace. Back at home, she placed a letter from the court beside Thomas's final note. Then she lit a candle and sat at the piano. Her fingers trembled, but her song was steady. It was a song for the broken, for the misunderstood, for every child who had once been told they were nothing. Across the city, Vanessa sat alone, her lawyers gone, her plans ruined. She picked up the photo of her and Thomas one last time, then slowly placed it face down. She whispered, "You chose her, and I never mattered." She stood and walked into the darkness. Lily sang on, not because she needed to be heard, but because it was who she was. The girl who sang in the cold, now singing in the light, but deep in the shadows. Something else stirred, a voice on the phone, a quiet breath, and then a whisper. She may have won the court, but not the past. There are still things she does not know, still truths buried deep, and one day they will rise. Weeks passed since the court's final judgment, and for the first time in a long time, Lily felt peace. The house no longer felt too big, too silent, too full of ghosts. Now it felt like home. Each room held a memory, a lesson, a promise. She had begun painting the walls in soft colors. Blue for the music room, peach for the reading corner, white for the kitchen where she laughed with Mrs. Elkins, and gold for the studio Thomas had built but never used. She turned it into a space for music. There she recorded her first song, not for radio, not for fame, just for herself, for him. It was called Whisper of Home, and it told the story of a girl who found her voice in a man's last breath. People online heard it, shared it, cried with it. It reached millions of ears, and hundreds of hearts sent messages. Your voice saved me. Your song helped me say goodbye to my mom. Your music gave me strength. And Lily knew she was doing what she was meant to do. But as her music rose, so did something else. Something quieter. Something cold. One night, as she closed the studio door, she heard a soft sound behind the walls. It was like a knock, then a scrape, then silence. She paused, listened, but it was gone. Maybe the house was settling. Maybe it was nothing. But the next night it happened again, this time closer to her room. Scrape, knock, scratch. She opened the walls slowly, looked inside. Nothing. Then one afternoon, while cleaning out the attic, she found an old wooden chest hidden behind a curtain of cobwebs. It had no lock, just a latch. She opened it gently. Inside were old photo albums, letters, and one envelope marked, "Do not open unless ready for truth." Her fingers froze. She looked around the attic. Dust floated like memories in the air. She sat on the floor and opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in Thomas's handwriting. "Lily, if you are reading this, then you have already been through much. I left this for the moment you felt strong enough. There are things I never told you, not because I did not want to, but because I was afraid. Years ago, before you were born, I made a mistake. I fell in love with the wrong person. Vanessa, she was charming, smart, beautiful, but cruel. She did not care about people, only power, only her reflection in the mirror. When I met your mother, everything changed. She was light, kindness. She taught me how to feel again. But Vanessa found out, and she made threats. She said she would ruin me, and she tried. She lied to the press. She fed poison to my friends. She even told people your mother had trapped me. When you were born, I wanted to leave it all behind. But tragedy struck. The fire, the silence. I thought I had lost you. And your mother, it broke me. But Vanessa did not stop. She kept coming back, kept pushing, even when I gave her money, even when I begged her to leave me alone. When I found you again, I knew I had to protect you. From her, from the world, from my own shame. I did not tell you everything, but I loved you with all that was left in me. and I hope one day you can forgive me for not being braver sooner. Love, Dad. Lily sat still. The attic walls closed around her like a storybook at its final page. She pressed the letter against her chest, her hands shaking. Vanessa, she whispered, she is not finished. That night, she went through the remaining documents in the chest. Old reports, business contracts, legal threats, and one small flash drive labeled Project A. She plugged it into her laptop. A video opened. Vanessa standing at a foundation meeting, yelling at Thomas. You owe me. I made you. I should have had your name. Not that woman. Not that child. Thomas replied calmly. You do not own my heart. You never did. It ended with Vanessa storming out. Lily sat in the dark, breathing slowly. Now she understood. Vanessa's pain was never about money. It was about being forgotten, being left behind. But that did not make her harmless. Lily decided it was time to take control. She called Mr. Caldwell. We need to release the full story. He agreed. They prepared a documentary, using the letters, the photos, the reports, even the audio from Thomas's old recordings. It was raw, honest, and brave. The night before it aired, Lily stood in the garden, looking up at the stars. I am not afraid anymore, she whispered. Whatever comes, I will not run. The truth will speak, and those who listen will understand. She did not know that Vanessa had already seen a preview of the documentary. She had watched in silence, face blank, hands folded. When it ended, she stood, walked to the mirror, and whispered, so this is how it ends. But even as she said it, a new plan was already forming in her mind. A plan not of revenge, but of final destruction. Because some people do not accept loss. They burn everything around them until they are the last thing left standing. And in the quiet night, Lily's song played on the radio. A lullaby, floating through the city like hope, while danger waited just beyond the gates. The night the documentary aired, the city fell silent. Screens across the country lit up with the face of a girl who once sang on broken sidewalks. The story unfolded slowly. Lily's words, Thomas's letters. The truth laid bare for everyone to see. It was not a tale of wealth, or power, or fame. It was a story of pain, of healing, of a father who found his daughter too late, and a girl who found her voice just in time. The response was overwhelming. People wept, shared, wrote letters, sang covers of her songs. Artists painted her image. Poets wrote about her strength. Children whispered her name at bedtime like a promise. Even those who doubted her before now saw the truth. But while the world leaned in, Vanessa stepped back. She sat in her dark living room, watching it all unfold. The lights off, the silence heavy. She picked up a framed photo, her and Thomas from decades ago. And for the first time, she did not feel anger, only emptiness. She had fought so hard for a man who had stopped loving her long ago. She had lost everything. But mostly, she had lost herself. The next morning, Vanessa arrived at Lily's gate. Alone. No lawyers. No threats. No makeup. Just a black coat and a tired face. Lily was in the garden, watering the flowers Thomas had planted. She looked up, saw her, and paused. Vanessa walked slowly to the fence, stood there in silence, then spoke. You destroyed me. Lily looked at her with quiet eyes. I never tried to. You told your story, she said softly, and now the world hates me. I told the truth. Vanessa nodded. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not let them fall. I loved him, even when he left, even when he broke me. And I hated you for being the one he chose at the end, even if you never asked for it. Lily set down her watering can, walked to the gate, and opened it. Why are you here? Vanessa took a deep breath. I do not know. Maybe to see if I could hate you to your face. Maybe to see if I could find peace. Maybe just to end this. She pulled something from her coat pocket. It was a box, Inside was a necklace, a twin to the one Lily wore. He gave this to me once, said it was for a daughter, one he might never find. He kept it anyway, just in case. He told me if he ever gave it away, it would mean he found her. He never gave it to me. Now I give it to you. Lily stared at the necklace, then slowly reached for it. Vanessa's hand shook, but she let go. Lily whispered, "Thank you." Vanessa turned to leave, then paused. "Tell your story. Keep singing." He would have wanted that. And then, she was gone, just like the storm, just like the fear. Lily stood there, holding both necklaces, one from a mother, one from a woman who finally let go. Inside the house, she placed them side by side in a glass box, a symbol of the past, of what had been lost, of what had been found. The months that followed were filled with light. Lily opened a music school, free for orphans and foster children. She named it the Wainwright Home of Song. She toured small towns, sang for people who had no one else to listen. She wrote an album called Found, and every track told a piece of her story. One about hunger, one about cold, one about love, and one, just one, about the night she sang to a man in a black car who sat in silence and heard his daughter's voice for the first time. Mrs. Elkins moved into a cottage behind the school. Mr. Caldwell retired with peace in his heart. And every year, on the day Thomas passed, Lily lit a candle by the window, sang softly, and whispered, "I love you, Dad. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for staying." And far beyond the stars, somewhere quiet, somewhere full of music, a father smiled, because sometimes the greatest stories are the ones that begin after goodbye.